All right, folks, it is finally time. Hello and welcome to the finale of our Road to Masters. It has been a long road, and yeah, it's going to end with a bang, to say the very least. So let's not talk about that too much. Let's talk about the race. We got one shot qualifying here at Britain in the rain this time, and I nailed the first couple corners. And so far in the top left, you can see we are P1. And again, remember, we're still in this very high level lobby with multiple drivers at the level that we are at in terms of raw pace. So nothing is going to be easy here in this final episode, as you will see the whole way through. Keeping it tight, learning from the laps I had in the wet in the race last episode, where we did a whole race at Britain in the wet. Kind of remembering what corners I went too deep in, such, going back to my lessons from the beginning, learning as you drive, thinking like, oh, I went too deep here, fix that, oh, I turned in too late here, fix that. Paying attention to things like that and improving and learning as you drive is a very crucial skill, and one that will put you ahead of a lot of people at similar levels than you. And as you can see now, we've adjusted well. We've really put together a decent lap here so far. As you can see in the top left corner, we are at the moment P1, baby, and hopefully we can hold that here in Sector 3. Beautiful corner there. That was a corner I've always seemed to struggle with getting it just right, but there, we absolutely nailed it. Forget the name of the corner too, because again, stupid American, I don't know corner names, so, or at least that's my excuse. As we come across the line, we are P1 and starting out this final episode with a juicy pole position. Starting the race now. It is a dry race, so I was on the dry setup in the wet qualifying, but we got pole by 0.8 of a second in the wet. I'm sure we won't have quite as much of a pace advantage in the dry, but as we launch off the line, it's a good enough start to hold the lead in the turn one. I'm holding down the ERS just to ensure I keep the position here, but now I need to try to save as much ERS as possible because I know that the guys behind are mighty quick. And on a track like this, I talked about it enough last episode, don't want to, rehash a bunch of points, but with how easy it is to follow on this track, ER management is absolutely vital. Whether it's holding a position or trying to overtake someone else, you're going to need a battery advantage to be able to pull it off if you're about the same pace as the other driver. And again, you'll see a reoccurring theme from previous episodes here, setup issues on this track in terms of the race pace. And yeah, like I said, once I get to the point where I'll have a league race on this track, I will go into it with more details, but will we be able to overcome it and still hang on for the win? Well, you guys will know in the next 5 laps here. We're keeping it solid so far, and again, something I noticed, it's continued throughout pretty much all the tracks I've raced on, with the exception of tracks where I use 50-50 wings. I always just seem to have a straight line advantage. I guess it's just the way that I set up cars, or maybe that's to do with my driving style. Hell, I don't know. Maybe I just get awesome exits. It's probably that, because, it's always just because we're awesome, right? Yeah, 1 lap down. We've held the lead. Our friend-to-me, Drax, right behind us in P2. Definitely didn't see that corner cut there, and hopefully we can keep this lead for the next 4 laps. As lap 2 concludes, again we cut turn 1. I am just awful at that corner, I guess, today. And with the slipstream, car behind has been slightly gaining on me. And now with DRS activated this lap, it's going to be a lot easier for him to follow me closely. I've held on to 80% of my battery up until now, and I'm going to try to use just the minimal amount to stay ahead on each straight. It's going to be a difficult balancing act that I'm going to have to perform to keep the lead in this race, all while still nailing my racing line throughout each lap. But it's these kind of situations that we have a lot of experience in, just from doing so many league races in the past. So yeah, the experience really does pay off. You watch on YouTube all the time where people are in these races where they make a mistake around the corner and lose the lead like I did right there. And I turn it a little bit early there. I bump his wheel, but no harm, no foul. He's going to be able to keep the position here on us. We are going to have the DRS. He absolutely burns the juice. I start to notice the car just understeering like crazy. We're going to lose yet another position here. You can see how close we are on lap 3, and we are all within about 0.2 of a second of each other. And yeah, that is just the level that we are at. No damage, but as you can see, my tires were 218 coming down the straight. They were definitely over 220 through the S section. And again, we are really struggling with the setup, specifically on Britain. Again, I know I did feel it in my one-shot qualifying the previous time that we were here, but I didn't realize how bad it was. But yeah, like I was addressing earlier, it's a lot easier said than done. You see these league racing videos or high-level YouTubers all the time, staying so close to the car ahead, and just they both have consistent rocket pace, the whole race, and it really comes down to a game of inches. But when you get in that situation yourself, it's a lot harder to stay consistent in the dirty air and just nail lap after lap. It's with the pressure of people in front and behind you all at the same level. And it's honestly just something they get used to over time. I always mentally rock that mindset of, I'm just doing the best I can do here. I end up where I end up. If I go up positions, cool. If I go back positions, so be it. We'll get better over time. So kind of just having a relaxed mindset, focusing on just doing the best that you can do and just allowing yourself to slot into the race is definitely at least how I approach dealing with, kind of the stress of being real tight, nose to tail, both in front and behind you in league racing. And as you can see here throughout this lap, we're struggling a lot with the setup, struggling a lot with tire temperatures. We have a collision ahead of us too. The two leaders have collided. I believe that was Sandman. Remember him from the previous episode. He beat us at Australia. He gets sent off. I don't have a judgment on the incident because I wasn't close enough to see it, because I'm getting absolutely torched. And again, I preached it last episode. You're just seeing it here again. Two drivers of the same skill level, one struggling with setup, one not. You see the gigantic difference it makes. So make sure, if you're a league racer or even a ranked play racer and you want to see some improvement, make sure your setups are not holding you back. Yeah, it's nice that I got a decent setup that has decent one-lap pace, but I really do need to learn what adjustments I need to make on every track to make them race pace ready. Like I always say, that's something I'll worry about, because in the big picture I'm worried more about my league races than I am with the Masters. But yeah, it is frustrating to deal with here nonetheless. So basically when I go into each race, if I know I'm going to have setup issues, I just kind of got to make a big old guess of what changes to make. You just throw some setup changes in there, hope she sticks in the corners, and hope it doesn't overheat. And yeah, we are not going to be able to catch Drax in this one, but hey, struggling so much on tire temperatures on a track that is my least favorite track to compete on in the game by far, and still being able to get P2, things could be a lot worse, especially with, I know there's 7 people in the race now, but I forget how many, there was a couple more at the start, so nice medium-sized lobby again, second in a medium-sized lobby, still definitely positive gains in the SR point score. Yeah, it was only 8 drivers in this lobby, but as you can see there real quickly, second out of 8. We take those, we know when we're struggling so much, and again, we got a free position, which I like to think is the game giving us back positions out of all the ones we wrongfully lost in all of these previous episodes dealing with dirty drivers. But luckily, I think at least that is all behind us. So we'll move on to the next race. And yeah, I've really been enjoying the races that I had in this lobby. Nice, clean, competitive racing. And now our next one-shot qualifying attempt is, again, we are back to Singapore. It seems like we keep going back and forth between Britain and Singapore. But hey, I'm fine by that, because while Britain is my least favorite track to compete on, Singapore is one of, if not my favorites. And as you can see there, we don't invalidate turn 2 this time, thank Christ. Now we can actually flex our pace that we showed in the last race here. Nice, clean, getting onto the throttle. Bombing it down the straight. Not going to have a lot of straight line speed because of a very high downforce setup. Using all the width on the inside and the outside. Being aggressive on the throttle but not spinning the tires. Again, using all the width of the track. And yeah, this is just a track that I really enjoy driving on. As you can probably tell, I'm a lot closer to the absolute limit every corner than compared to that other tracks that we go to and do one-shot qualifying. And yeah, going to avoid that curb on the inside, brake earlier than you think. So here, swing it to the outside so you can carry as much speed through this corner as possible. The faster you're going, the easier it is to get onto the throttle and the exit of slow corners. So carrying as much speed through those as possible is the key. You want to be careful there because that white line is actually out pretty far from the wall, and the white line does define the limits. You want to be careful there. I could have mounted that curb on the inside, but it has a little bump to it, so it's kind of inconsistent to do it at times. I didn't want to take the risk because I have noticed in the top left corner, it's been saying I've been P1 the whole time. So I know that it seems as though I have a pace advantage, and I should be good with setup as well, because I knew that this was a track historically that when it comes to race pace, you need to put your tire pressures absolutely down to the bare minimal. I've already done that to hope that, you know, it will be good for the race, which it will be. And yeah, as you can see there, we get pole position by a hefty margin, just shy of 0.8 of a second once again, but hopefully this time without setup issues that'll allow us to convert this pole position into a win. Now, it is all about getting a clean start here. We don't want to lose that lead that we worked hard for in qualifying. 5 lights go on, random catchphrase as we launch off the grid again, and it's a great start for us. We're going to have the optimal racing line into the first couple corners. Got a little bit of gap to the car behind, and hopefully we can get a good, solid first lap here. Put the distance in between us and Drax behind. And yeah, hopefully make this one kind of the reverse of the last race where he was just pulling away from me. Now we need a race. We got to even the score a little bit in this episode. And now we got to try to pull away from him. At the end of the first lap, we had about a second to a second and a half gap. So nice advantage that we got so far, but he is still very much in it. So yeah, now I'm kind of teetering in terms of my strategy for the race, where I'm definitely not letting out my pace, but I'm not making any large risks in terms of track limits. So I'm kind of riding a fine line here where I'm being aggressive, but making sure that I don't give myself a stupid penalty or risk getting to the throttle too early on a corner and spinning out. I know I have the natural pace here. I know I'm not having setup issues, so I'm kind of just minding the gap and just holding it consistent, just doing enough to keep him about a second behind, but not making any unnecessary risks, because we all know that on a street course, anything can happen at a moment's notice, and any small slip-up would just mean our race ruined. Advancing through the laps now. Lap 3, the status quo of this race is still basically not changed. The gap has opened up a little bit. He's about 1 3/4 second behind us at this point, comfortably outside of our DRS. We still have a little bit of ERS left, and yeah, no warnings yet, so we're looking good to not get any penalties. And yeah, a little bit of a spoiler here, but it's probably obvious since it's the finale, but for the last time in this series, we have a mostly boring race, but not the boring race to the extent of the other boring races where I'm winning by 8 to 20 seconds. You know, this one I only won by about 2.5 seconds, but we were comfortably just a few tenths faster every lap, put together a nice clean race, confirmed a pole position on one of our strongest tracks, and yeah, we pick up the win by just shy of 3 seconds. And again, me, Drax, and Sandman just going back and forth, just absolutely going at it every race. I know that Drax and Sandman had that collision in the last race, but outside of that, it's just been nothing but good, clean racing at a very high competitive level, and this is what I live for. You know, I was loving this. I wish this lobby was a little bit higher, because I might have been able to get masters on this one if we would have had, you know, 11, 12 person lobby, but it is what it is. I was just happy to not race at Britain again. And for the next race, and yeah, someone voted to kick Drax. I guess they just don't like people that are clean and also have pace. But you can see, nice, decent sized lobby going into this race at Abu Dhabi, a track I like, and with many drivers in the lobby. Large SR on the line. Yeah, what is it, 12 or 13 drivers, one of the largest grids we've had, and the highest level grid, all in one, which is a very welcome sight here in the finale of the Road to Masters. And starting this one-shot qualifying at a track that has seen its fair share of drama over the years in real life. Will it produce the same drama here tonight? And yeah, we nailed turn 1. definitely want to be careful coming through turns 2 and 3. You're on the absolute limit of grip. You can see I just feather off full throttle going through there. Where P1 you can see in the top left, and it quickly shoots down to P3, P2. So presumably it's me, Drax, and Sandman again, all very close in terms of pace, and we all have slight differences in our setup as well, because you can see, even though I'm driving very consistently, you know, we are still rapidly changing position. So we are all very close together. I brake a tiny bit early here, and I go down the second gear. This is actually something I end up changing during the race. I start learning that holding third gear through there is actually quicker. Keep a nice tight line on the straight. You don't scrub off as much speed as you do in real life by turning while in full throttle. I go wide out here in the corner, and something else that I learned while driving this track in this race is that hugging it to the inside, you don't carry as much speed through the corner, and it's a little bit more difficult to get on the throttle, but you make the track so much shorter that all in all you end up gaining time. It's kind of weird how, even though it's the same premise of long banked corners, you still drive them very differently in different cars like NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1. And yet we have a decent lap, but we go out wide on the final corner, and you can see right at the end we lose our P1 right at the line. And this one, even watching back, is still just as frustrating as when it happened. It was like, I nailed the whole lap. I had the pole position, and I just lost it all by braking about a full car length too late on the final corner. And I just barely lose what definitely should have been another pole position. Yeah, you can see it. We lost 2.5, 3 tenths in that last corner alone. Missed pole position by just over a tenth. Yeah, that's a frustrating one, folks. But hey, P2 going into the race, especially knowing the kind of grid starts we get, still very optimistic for a good start to the race here. And unfortunately, we did have a couple levers between the lobby starting and the race, but still, 11 cars in this race, high-level drivers, decent points on the line. The lights are coming on. We really are focused in here to get a good reaction and good grip off the start. You can see we outreact them off the line. We get very good grip off the start. We're absolutely burning the juice. We're going to send it a deep on the inside line, but we're going to respect the red arrows on the outside. I didn't want to risk going too deep and taking the racing line on the exit because I didn't know how deep he would go into brakes. Still, we're going side by side through this corner, absolutely on the limit of grip. But people that have raced this track a lot know just how sketchy that can be. But we get great traction on the outside, take the lead, hold it through the long corner, a new corner that I absolutely love, to be honest. I love the renovations to this track, as I've mentioned in previous videos. Doing a little bit of weaving just to try to break the slipstream just a tiny bit. Doing a little Max Verstappen down the straight. Yeah, not the best run here. Again, this is before I learned to use third gear the whole time. I think it's towards the end of this race that I learned that. Use some of the extra ERS to solidify this position. And yeah, an absolutely great start for us here. Hugging the inside and gain a lot more time that way. If only I would have done that in qualifying, or if I would have not outbroke myself on the very last corner. But regardless, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we are P1 in Sector 3 of Lap 1. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if I qualify 5th if I'm P1 at the end of Lap 1 of a race, because your finishing position is what counts here in ranked play and just in all racing in general. I mean, I guess unless if you're in a lead that gives you bonus points for pole position, but then again, you're always going to get more positions for the race, so I digress. Yeah, 1 lap down. For the go, we still got Drax close behind. We did make slight changes to the setup, because I remember the last time I was here I had heavy overheating issues, so hopefully those changes are enough that we'll be able to hold the lead throughout the entirety of the race. I'm using some ERS, but I didn't want to use too much, because with Drax likely to still be in my DRS range, I don't want to be in a position where he is still in my DRS range, but I do not have any ERS to be able to either defend myself, or if he does overtake me, be able to stay close enough and then re-overtake him. So yeah, using too much ERS is definitely something I didn't want to do, especially so early in the race as well. While it is still only a 5-lap race, just a quick sprint race, you still got to exercise some forms of patience, and that's just something you learn the more you race. You know, the more races you have, the more situations you face, just the more data you gather. You know, data gathering is something that you'll hear a lot in real racing, and it applies to video games as well, not just racing games. You know, the more information you have, the better. The best way to improve is just be a sponge of all the possible information you can possibly take in. 2 laps down, only 3 laps to go. Now the challenge begins as DRS is activated, the challenge of defending the cars behind, that is. He is right on the cusp of being in by DRS, and will he be able to open the rear wing flap? We will be able to find out here in just a couple seconds. We come around the corner. I feel like I've been nailing that corner all the way through this playthrough, and yeah, he is definitely within the 1 second, while I've been using almost half of my meter already to try to solidify this lead. He's obviously been using some of his meter as well to ensure that he stays in that 1 second gap. And now you can see I stick in 3rd gear the whole time, take a slightly better line through the corner. Active learning as we're racing, you can see I just absolutely pull away from him coming out of that chicane and onto the 2nd long straight. And that could be something that ends up being vital as this race goes on, especially if I have to battle him in the remaining 2 laps. Coming now into Sector 3. This is not somewhere where I'll get overtaken, but at the same time, you can just see how much he is closing in Sector 3. He is definitely running a slightly higher downforce, or he might not be having issues with tires, and we may be. I haven't peeked at my tire temperatures yet. I was just so locked in on this race. But now, while I have time on the straight, I do peek at the tire temperatures, and yes, you do see in the top right tire, you know, you can go back to right when I went, or you can even see right now, my front tire is overheating a little bit, and my rear tire is overheating as well. So the tire's on the right side, and now my front left is starting to slightly overheat as well. So overheating tires is an issue for us. And again, we're battling the car behind. We're battling the conditions of our car and tire temperatures. We're managing our ERS. We're paying attention to what defensive moves we have to make. A lot of things to pay attention to at once. That's not just driving the car. You can see he brakes way later than us. Takes a different line through the corner, but we absolutely torch him on the exit. This is lap 4, so I've still been able to hold on to a little over 30%, and that is going to be massive going into the last lap, because I know he's gonna, even though I drive my very best, and I feel like I'm driving to the best of the car's potential, you know, with me missing the setup slightly in terms of preserving the tire temperatures, and the fact that he has a higher downforce setup than us, he's going to be able to pretty much be directly up our gearbox. Basically smelling what I had for dinner last night. And coming out and starting the last lap. And yeah, the straights is where we're really going to have to find the advantage. And with the tires overheating so much, we're just even slower through the last couple corners. You can see he's getting so close to us. And this is a fine line where I want to go as fast as I can, obviously, to keep him behind, but at the same time, I cannot overstep the limit, which is so easy to do on turns 2 and 3 here. Can't throw it all away by spinning out. I'd rather get a disappointing second than to crash out in such a crucial race in this Road to Masters series. We have a decent run through the corner, and this is where I knew that his best chance to overtake was, so I'm going to absolutely burn all the juice here. You can see he is gaining, he is gaining, he is gaining, but he is not quite close enough. He doesn't risk dive bombing it. I think he didn't want to barely be ahead of me and me have DRS the whole way down the straight, so he's hoping he can get a good enough run that he's so close to me that with the DRS he can overtake me. But you can see once again, we get an absolutely fantastic run out of the chicane and down the long stretch. We hold on to the lead, and while all the main overtaking spots of the lap are gone and we just got to hold off here in Sector 3, this is where he is so much stronger than me throughout the lap. Just a few corners to go for us to hold on to a very difficult and honestly I believe well-deserved race win. Tires are overheating, opponent right behind me, all the pressure on. I don't brake too late into the final corner like I did in qualifying. Even if the tire's overheating and the ERS basically on E, we're able to hold off the competition. And from P2, amazing start to P1, hold it for the entirety of the race. And yeah, I feel like that was an absolute banger of a race. After 5 laps, not even half a second separates me and Drax. And a well-deserved podium celebration for my avatar. he's not the only one that felt like he needed a drink after that one. And as we go to the rank, we've done it. Finally, we have reached the master rank. And this was a great race for it to happen too, I really think. You know, a race where we had a competitive lobby, we had a clean lobby. It was an entertaining race, at least I think so, from start to finish. And yeah, what a way to end off the series. And look at that shiny rank. Everyone's got to look at it. Well, everyone that hasn't left the lobby already, that is. And oh, it felt so good to get that rank again. With everything that's been going on with my life right now and not being able to just grind out ranked as soon as the game came out like I did in F1 2020 and 21. In both of those games, like in F1 2020, I think it was like the third day of the game coming out to the general public that I had Masters. And in F1 2021, it took me about 2 weeks after the game came out. And the only reason it took me that long was because of the lobby issues that existed in the game early on. So yeah, after all the struggles, we have finally reached our road to Masters. We try to look for another lobby to get like a celebration race, you know, our final race with our shiny Masters emblem, but it ends up not working out. People just start leaving out of this lobby and it crashes. I have a quick conversation with Drax afterwards. We end up becoming friends, and yeah, great racing all night in that lobby. And after a quick talk with our new friend Drax, enemies become friends. We go check out our license, and there you see it, the perfect license. Master rank, S safety, A attendance. You don't get a better player card than that, folks. And it feels good to have it again after what feels like so long since the game came out. And now we go to our stats. I forget for a second to change to look to no, excuse me, the ranked, and 22 wins and 32 podiums and 37 races complete. So out of our, it took 37 races, so 5 placement matches, 32 races after that, 22 of them wins and only 5 of them not being podiums. That is some damn good percentages, if I do say so myself. I was a little disappointed that I didn't best my percentages in F1 21, where I had, it was either 21 or 22 wins, and it only took me 27 races to get the Masters. But at the same time, I didn't play by the same rules. I didn't join any races that already had qualifying in progress, so I was able to qualify in every single race. And I also encountered a lot of larger lobbies at the lower ranks, which really helped skyrocket my SR at a faster rate. So all in all, I feel like my level was about the same. It was just circumstances like the rules and the lobbies that we got that basically made the difference. But yeah, while I wanted to get close to all wins, you know, you can't complain about 22 wins out of 37 races at the end of the day. And yeah, it felt like more than 37 races, honestly, to get there. But nonetheless, I don't want to ravel on forever. We got there, and our road to Masters is officially complete. But don't worry, that is not the end for me on this channel in this year's F1 game. Actually, this only marks the beginning. The road to Masters is something I always do as soon as the game comes out, but the meat of the bones for me is my league racing season. You've already seen the first of 2 seasons that will happen in this year's game in Hyperdrive, and I'll be doing round, I believe, 5 or 6 this weekend at Spain, so you can look forward to that as well. And early to mid-September, a second league I am in, SRL, will begin, and that is 1 season over the course of the entire calendar year, where we do pretty much every track in the game. And we also do an SRL, a Project Cars 2 endurance season as well. So yeah, while this seems the end of one series, like I said, our road in F1 22 has only just begun. There's also a third league I plan on joining as well that will race once a week, but the details of that haven't been announced yet, so I'm holding off on making an official announcement on it until that happens. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this, what felt like a very long road to Masters. It feels good to finally complete it, and yeah, like I said, this is only just the beginning. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video.